Hello and welcome to Asian Pulse Television. I am your host, Rahana Ali. Thank you for tuning into your informative and educational network. We are broadcasting from the unceded territory of Semiahmoo First Nation, Katzie and Kwantlen First Nation. In 2021, we lost 2,224 young men and women due to overdose with illicit drugs. Most of the people who died were in the Fraser Health Region and in the Vancouver Coastal Health Region. Most were men and women between the ages of 30 and 59. Today is Pink Shirt Day, and we hope you all are wearing your pink shirts today. Pink Shirt Day is February 23rd and has been recognized annually worldwide as a day to stand against bullying. Do your part, wear pink shirts, and show anyone that bullies others that we are all together to combat bullying. The month of February is also known as Heart Month. To learn how to keep your heart healthy, visit the Heart and Stroke Foundation website at www.heartandstroke.ca. I'll be right back after these words from our sponsors.
Buying or selling a house is a difficult process. Get Prem Prakash from Saba Realty Limited to find you your dream home, whether it's your first house, upgrading, or investment property. Always at your service with a fast, friendly, and honest opinion. Prem Prakash will guide you through the entire process. Get in touch with him today for a free, no-obligation consultation at 778-840-5866. I understand how important it is to have a place called home, and it's frustrating using your hard-earned money on rent. Vic Prasad can make you a homeowner. Get pre-approved services provided to first-time buyers and new immigrants. You can qualify for mortgage even if you have bad credit. Call Vic Prasad now on 604-306-6647. Vic Prasad is associated with Craft Mortgages Canada Incorporated. I understand how important it is to have a place called home, and it's frustrating using your hard-earned money on rent. Vic Prasad can make you a homeowner. Get pre-approved services provided to first-time buyers and new immigrants. You can qualify for mortgage even if you have bad credit. Call Vic Prasad now on 604-306-6647. Vic Prasad is associated with Craft Mortgages Canada Incorporated.
Community Outreach Pharmacy, providing in-home pharmacy services.
This includes our specialized diabetes and blood pressure monitoring program,
Free blister packing, free deliveries, and an in-home injection service throughout the whole Lower Mainland.
Call us at 604-777-5601 for more information.
If you would like to be our sponsor and want to sponsor any segment of this show, please let us know by calling the number in our credits. We have in our studio today Parminder Tung. He is a lawyer and a mediator. He is here to talk about the vital role women play in our families. We need to make sure they are looked after when we talk about inheritance. We will be talking about inheritance law. No one talks about inheritance, especially about women, and helping them to learn and exercise their inheritance rights, as this has become a real issue in our community.
Good morning and hello. So today we are here to talk about something that we don't feel comfortable talking about. We all go through that, but end of the day, nobody wants to talk about it. And maybe you might have guessed what we were going to talk about today. We talk about life. When a baby is coming into the earth or this world, we all celebrate, have baby showers, we all welcome the baby in the world, and that baby grows up to a childhood and a man, and then there is a start of life and there is an end. So we always plan the start, but we never plan the end. When we're going to leave this world, how are we going to leave it, the world, for? And who are we going to be leaving it for? And after my passing away, what will the family go through? How would the family going to be? Are the family going to be all together? We are recording this show on the family day, and we want to focus on that. That we want to see that during my lifetime, my family was all together, all lovey-dovey and all that. Once I'm gone, is it going to be the same? Or are we all going to be fighting, arguing about something? And the person that is responsible for all that commotions, sometimes it lies with us. And for that reason, I have invited a very well-known lawyer who is in our studios to talk about estate planning, about wills and states, and why is it so important if you have 5 children and out of 5 maybe 3 are boys and the 2 are daughters? Why is it so important that in this country everybody needed to be treated equal and everybody has the same right to any asset that I am leaving or you are leaving on this planet? So with that introduction, thank you, Parminder Tung, who has taken upon on a website or on social media to talk about inheritance. So first of all, welcome, sir.
Thank you very much, Camila ji.
Gotcha. So today we're gonna talk about family. On a family day,
Yeah.
your family is
Yeah.
staying home, my family is home, and we are doing this recording because all our shows are pre-recorded. So we are talking about family law and family.
Yeah, and I like how you brought the topic up, life. And with life, there is death.
Yes.
And the uncomfortable thing that we don't like to talk about is death, right? I remember being a young boy asking my dad, you know, what's going to happen, Dad, when you pass away or Mom passes away? And the response is, don't you worry about that. Everything's going to be fine. I'm here, right? It's an uncomfortable conversation. You don't want to talk about it with your children. And even as we get older, they still don't want to talk about it. It's uncomfortable. We don't like thinking about it, right?
So could we change that uncomfortable and be able to talk about it and be able to say as a parent, as a grandmother, I'm a grandmother now, that this is what should be no surprises after I'm no longer here, that this is how it's going to be.
Yeah.
Get the family together and sit down and just discuss your last ritual too. You know, how do I want my not my soul will be gone, my body to be taken care of.
Yeah. Or your ceremony or whatever it might be.
Yeah, my end of life celebration
Your
of
celebration of life. I love the way that you put that.
Yes.
So many of us, we are having these massive mourning events, right?
Yes.
And there's people that cry. And I think one of the things I like to think about sometimes is that you want to celebrate a life, a long-lived, successful life, right? And turning that on its head. And you see people in today's North American culture calling those things a celebration of life, laughter, storytelling, right? Rather than always mourning, right? But more importantly,
in our culture, we never go past that grieving and there is no celebration. That's a sad thing. Yes, loss is a loss, right?
Yeah,
But
you're
you
right.
have to go through grief and move on and just say, oh, I remember my grandmother. I remember my grandfather. I remember my brother. We need to, celebrate their life and remember them.
yeah, and
as
celebrate
they
the
were.
good memories,
Yep.
right?
Yeah.
Now, flipping that on its
Yes.
head and talking about the difficult stuff is, you know, much of our culture, many of our people, and we are here in Surrey, British Columbia, having this discussion today, immigrated in the 60s and the 70s.
Yeah.
And the common story is that they came here with nothing, right? You've heard the grandparent or father say, I came with $5 in my pocket or some change in my pocket. And what's happened is they've amassed quite a bit of wealth, right? Be it real estate, businesses, whatever the case might be. And they've grown families, right? And now the question is, as you start thinking about death and your legacy, what you're going to leave behind, how you're going to distribute those assets. And what you hope is you talk to your children and say, no matter what, I don't want you fighting. I want you to be close with your sister or your brother. And we know how complex these relationships are. Sometimes we know people who are not even speaking to their siblings now as adults. And that's sad, right? The only hope a parent has is that their children remain talking to each other. And how difficult is it that you've grown your estate and then you want to gift these things to people to set them up in life. And that very thing that was so hard to earn and make and grow is the very basis for a dispute between the children. It's very sad, right?
So let's talk a little bit about your last wish, like a state, wills and states. How many people that are even watching today, you have wills and state? Have you made a will?
Many people have not.
People get scared when you think about will. And even if you had a will done, that is about 50 years old or 20 years old. You know, myself even don't have a recent will. So just because I had one sitting somewhere, how often should one be looking at their wills?
Very good question. Let's start with a very basic statement. Your intentions, what you want to do, it is not very difficult to get these things down in writing, right? People think that they're very highly legal documents. They are, and it's best to get a lawyer involved. But in recent changes in the law, they're making it very easy for people to just make your intentions known, to write them down, and to have them witnessed. And that could be held to be valid.
Yeah.
So what is important is to be thinking about
So
these
who could be
things.
the witness? Do you have to have notarized or maybe a family member or a neighbor? Who could be the,
Let's start with what is the most important step.
yeah.
What you really want to do is sit down with a couple people. You want to sit down with your accountant and you want to sit down with your lawyer.
Okay.
It is not just a legal document, it is often one that is designed for tax purposes because assets will be changing hands.
Yeah.
Anytime an asset changes hands, that's a taxable event, meaning taxes will be owed by the children on the disposition of those assets. So you really need to think about who are a couple people I trust, a lawyer and an accountant, and they should be communicating together and giving advice about the structure. So my recommendation to people is get your professionals involved, sit down and have the discussion. Let's take it even one step further. Before you even do that,
Yes.
sit down with your family. Sit down with your family and talk, right? And the very reason why I was asked to come to this interview is that you probably saw on social media that I launched a recent campaign, right? And this campaign was about educating the community to start having a discussion because we are noticing that people are leaving out their daughters from their estate, right? So in our community, there's a certain number of people that still are holding on to some traditions from back home. And it's not just South Asians in the Fijian community,
yeah.
right? It's in the Asian, the Chinese community, and it's even in the Dutch and Caucasian community. They do prefer one child over the other sometimes, okay? I've highlighted the difference between a son and a daughter, right? As
Because it's very common in our culture.
it is. And not only that, over the years, I've been practicing law for over a decade, Kamilaji, over a decade. The stories that I'm hearing from these women when they call me, that they've seen this video, and the emotion that it is bringing out of their souls, they're crying on the phone with me. Their parents haven't even passed away yet.
Yeah.
They call me and say, I saw your video, right? And I'm in tears because that story is speaking to me.
Yeah.
I'm alive, but
Yeah.
ever since I was a little girl, my father and mother made me feel less than my brother or my brothers. And because of it, I'm a professional grown woman now with my own family, and it still hurts me.
Yeah.
And they still keep calling me to their house to help with CPP applications, to bathe my grandmother, to deal with family problems, do legal documents. They make me do everything, right? And they're still going to give everything to my brother who does nothing for them and makes their life difficult. And they tell me these stories.
Sad. So
right?
sad.
And
It's a typical our kind of mentality kind of story.
yeah,
That it doesn't matter who is doing the last bit for you before you leave, that still everything gonna go to the son because he's a son.
now Camila G, what is really sad is sometimes they say, look, no one needs this money.
Yeah.
My brother is established, he's a professional, has his life. I have everything I need, but it's symbolic, right, of their life, my parents.
Last wish,
Symbolic,
yeah.
my last wish is to give everything to my son. My
Yeah.
daughter wasn't as valued. It's symbolic. No one may need any of that money. It's not going to change anyone's life.
Yeah.
Often it won't, but it's symbolic and it's having a real impact on these women, right? And I'm hearing these stories. So
And the anxiety it brings between two families now. Because brother's side of the family, their kids, my side of the family, daughter's side of the family, and their kids. And what is this, all this thing? You have to come to an agreement. So would you advise, as myself maybe, that even if I'm writing a will, I get all my family together? That I have this condo, I have this land, I have this car, I have this much jewelry, I have this much, that where is it gonna, so there are no surprises.
oh, absolutely. I love you all so much, my children. And my best wish, biggest wish, is that you don't fight over these things.
Yeah.
Right? All these things are material, worldly things, right? All I'm trying to do is be fair with all of you.
Yeah.
And here's what I want to happen.
Right.
And if one of them is worth more than the other, then don't fight over it.
Right.
Nothing. I'm trying to be fair with all of you.
Yeah.
But if you end up in some litigation, that's very sad for me, right? And having those types of conversations with people so that when you pass, that they can talk and say, that's what mom's wishes were.
Yeah.
She didn't want us to fight. You were to get this, I was to get that. Who cares if one is worth more than the other now, right?
So when you are writing a will, when you are talking about it, you have grandkids, you have money in the bank, you want to give this much money for their education or buy the first car, whatever. Should everything be written out in very clearly?
Yeah, and I love how you're thinking about people other than your own children, right? Grandchildren, right? If I want this to go to my grandchild, this heirloom of mine, or these rings or these pieces of jewelry, or that their education is taken care of, you can create a trust, right? Where money goes into a trust and gets invested, and that the money from that trust is what takes care of your grandchildren, or a charity, whatever your wishes are, right? This is the advice you get from those professionals on how to execute on those desires.
Talk a little bit about last will. What does that mean?
That is exactly that. It's your will that you prepare. Now, last will makes people think, well, if I had many, the last one is the most relevant and powerful, and that is true. They'll look for the one that's dated most recently, right? Now, imagine the complexities of this, Camila, where you have multiple wills and everything was split equal for the 4 or 5 versions that were created. But then as your parents started to have dementia or started to lose their ability to make decisions on their self, that the son takes that aging parent into a notary's office and gets a will executed that gives everything to the son and leaves the daughters out. These are some of the cases we see, right? Where everything was split equal up to a certain point. They lose the ability to make decisions on their own. They're taken into a lawyer or notary's office, and a decision is made to give everything to one child.
One child.
Right? Or some documents are prepared, and this stuff happens, right?
And it's so sad when the parents or whoever the person is writing the will, would that still count in the court of law?
Very good question.
Because suppose I have dementia or Alzheimer's.
Yes.
I'm in a house, in the care home. And my son or my daughter will take me and just write everything down and just have it witnessed or pull me out in the wheelchair and take it. And even though when I'm thinking, when I was in real right frame of mind, I have given all this to my grandkids, my children and everything. At the very last end, when I am not able to think, just because you are greedy, you are making the last will that still stand in court?
If I can prove that the person had undue influence over that elderly person, and that's why that will was prepared, the court would never let that stand. You have to prove certain legal elements to succeed in challenging that new will. And it's all comes down to the circumstances. So all these stories are like snowflakes. Every single one is different. Every phone call that I get is different. Each one is that family's special little story of what happened over the years. I'd love to tell you so many of these stories, right?
Go ahead, because I want people to hear it from you. Because you are a lawyer, you are presenting them, you are fighting in the court.
Yeah.
You are the one. And people are paying money to you to do this,
Yeah.
How much money and the time.
Half the time I feel like a counselor, to be honest with you. They're just calling because of the emotional impact. It's such highly emotional circumstances and stories, right? There are so many. One example is the parents are alive. They've got 3 children. Let's say it's 2 boys and a daughter. And while they're alive, they're trying to make sure that everyone is situated. So to the daughter, she's getting married. They may buy a car and a house and say, we set you up and gave you a car and a house. One son was really working hard on the farm and working on the farm. And he gets the farm, and the parents say, we want you to have the farm because you worked the land and you grew it, right? And then there's another son, let's say that one was really good and went to school. And they spent all the money on that son's education,
Yeah.
hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars. And they said, look, how much we spent on your education is similar to what we gave to your sister and your brother on the farm. And any other remaining assets, we want to be divided as follows. And they do it. And they pass away. Well, what happens if the daughter's house ends up being a high density, valuable piece of property worth $20 million? The farm's not worth a whole lot. And the one who with the education used some of the funds from the family to really advance himself and became a multimillionaire or something. And now these siblings are fighting. And the daughter is saying she's not fairly provided for. One son is saying he's not fairly provided for. And these things end up in a dispute.
So what happens in that case?
Yeah, so it's interesting. A court will look at justice to do fairness between people, right? And the stories that mean the most to me these days are the ones where the daughter is being not adequately provided for.
Right.
Okay. There's the other day, last week, I got a phone call from someone. She goes, my parents are still alive. Okay. They haven't passed yet. It's just me, my sister, and my younger brother. And my parents tell me all the time that my little brother's getting everything, but he's making their life very difficult even while they're alive. And she shares with me the emotional stories of being a little girl. And she would say, I would go visit my grandmother who'd lived 3-4 houses down, and she'd give me some curry chicken, right? Some tari chicken and rice. And she'd say, go give this to your brother. And it was just enough for the little brother. And she said, my grandma's curry chicken was so delicious and smelled so good. I'd smell it while I was walking and I'd get home. And my instructions were that I was not to eat it and that to set my little brother up on the table and let him eat, right? And the two girls would ask him for some and he wouldn't get any. Now, this is a professional woman calling me now in tears, crying about how she, the son was preferred, her brother was preferred through her whole life, even when it came to food. Right. And what that's done to her emotionally as a grown woman, she feels inferior to men. She says, and when she's dealing in business, she's a high level executive and she's trying to deal with men across the boardroom table. She feels inferior, she says, because of these deep rooted stories from a young girl. Right. And she's telling me, how do I deal with this? What do I do? Right. And, she's looking for estate advice right now. She says he's starting to take gifts from the mother. He's starting to look at changing title on land and property, and she's quite worried about what's happening there, right? And this is the complexity of the types of calls that I get, right? So it's not even that the parents have passed yet, right? And the advice that we're to give then. And the best advice actually is, I can tell you, keep notes, right? It could be 10, 15 years from now that the death takes place and the properties are going through probate. And you want notes that you remember over all the years, especially if things get gifted while they're alive. Because it's very hard to trace money when it moves throughout life, right? Over the years. It's complex. These issues are very complicated, right? They're deep-rooted cultural traditions too. And I'm sure what I'm saying is not very popular, Camila G.
Yeah.
Right, I've had phone calls and messages from some boys who are, the beneficiaries of the entire estate, saying, "Why are you doing this?" Right, there's a complicated discussion.
Yeah.
Right, the farms need to stay. He's a farm. One of them's a farm owner, right? Farm boy. The tradition is that it's got to stay in the boy's line.
Yeah.
Right, because I'm going to marry a girl and she'll come with nothing. And it's her responsibility that and inheritance through my lineage, right? Problem is that is what used to happen in India, but here you have a new modernizing society where what if she comes from a family that splits equally? So now this double inheritance issue is coming up, right? Because trust me,
Here are some announcements that might be of interest to you. CALSA Ex-Students Reunion 2023 in Fiji. If you are an ex-CALSA student and would like to join the rest of your classmates and friends to celebrate with them, then this is for you. Please let us know as we have limited spaces left. For more information, please contact Camilla Singh at 604-537-5123 or go to the Facebook page, CALSA Reunion 2023, and register. Pink Shirt Day is on February 23rd. Remember to wear a pink shirt on that day, as the mission is to create a more kind, inclusive world by raising awareness and raising funds for anti-bullying initiatives. Join us on Pink Shirt Day. Food drive in aid of medical treatment for Sister Nur Johan is taking place on March 27th at Fleetwood Islamic Center at Suite 209, 8484 162 Street in Surrey. It's a palau drive with chicken palau and tomato chutney for only $10 each. For tickets and more information, please call 604-716-5697. If you are organizing any events in your community and want us to promote your events, please email us at asianpulse@gmail.com. We've run out of time now, and I hope you have enjoyed the show as much as I do bringing it to you. If you ever miss our shows, you can always tune in on Wednesdays at 1:30 p.m., Thursdays at 8:30 p.m., and Saturdays at 5:30 p.m. All our shows are also broadcast in Calgary on Channel 10 on Shaw. All our shows are also uploaded on YouTube under the Camilla Singh Shows. If you would like to sponsor this show or any other shows that we bring to you, please call 604-537-5123. Before I leave, I will leave you with these thoughts. The ocean, king of mountains, and the mighty continents are not heavy burdens to bear when compared to the burden of not repaying the world's kindness. A quote by Buddha. I am your host, Rahana Ali, and I hope you have a wonderful day, and we look forward to seeing you all next week on the same channel and same station. In the meantime, take good care of yourself and those around you. Bye for now.